Pastors command fasting to be in sincerity, for afflicting and humbling the soul under the mighty hand of God. So the magistrate forbids cutting of a vein or shedding of blood as a thing troubling the peace of human society, yet his command is not a direct means of preventing diseases in the body of a subject and for healthy living. But the physician commands to cut a vein and to shed blood for health, and to prevent a disease, and sins neither against the magistrate nor God in so doing. So doth the magistrate not directly command going to church as a worship to God, so as his commands have influence on the conscience as the pastor's commands have, but he commands going to church, and hearing, so as the omission of hearing hurts the society, whereof God hath made him a civil and politic head. In this latter sense must Lactantius, Tertullian, and others be taken. Otherwise these words, "The religion of another does his neighbor neither good nor ill," in rigor, are not true. The ill example of others in idolatry brings ill upon all the church, Deuteronomy 13, verse 5, yea, and the fierce anger of God, Deuteronomy 13, verse 17. Again, Lactantius saith, false religion cannot be compelled, but he denies not that Christians may punish blasphemies in true religion. Also he denies we may propagate the gospel among pagans with the sword, both which points we teach. There is no need, saith he, of force and injury, because religion cannot be compelled. The business is to be transacted by words rather than blows, that there may be willingness. Let them, enemies of the truth, draw the sword or sharpness of their wit. If their reason be good, let it be produced. We are ready to hear, if they teach, nothing more clear than that he speaks of the pagans that would force pagans' worship on Christians. We believe nothing of their religion while they are silent, as we cannot yield to them while they rage against us. Let them imitate us, and declare the reason of the whole matter, for we, Christians, do not allure as they, pagans, frequently object to us, but we teach, we prove, we demonstrate. Therefore none by us are kept against their will, for he is unprofitable to God who wants devotion and faith, and yet no man departs from us when the truth detains him. But, saith Celsus, volume 84, if in the time of Lactantius Christians killed men for their religion, no man can doubt but Lactantius in these same general words inveighs against Christians who would compel men to their faith against their will, and that he abhors the violence of ours against heretics. Answer. These are of a wide difference. To kill blasphemers and false teachers for spreading heresies and blasphemies, and to compel them by war and fire and sword to be of our Christian religion. As I hope to prove, for the former is lawful, the latter unlawful. It is true, Lactantius speaks of all religion, true and false, that we are to compel none with the sword to any religion. But he nowhere saith that the magistrates may not kill open and pernicious seducers and false teachers who pervert others. For the magistrate is not to compel, yea, nor to intend the conversion of a pernicious seducer, but to intend to take his head from him, for his destroying of souls. And Lactantius denies religion after it is begotten. Can he be defended that is nourished and conserved in the hearts of people by the sword, but by the word and spirit? Those are far different tormenting and piety, saith he. Nor can violence be conjoined with verity, nor justice with cruelty. And again, but as in religion, so also in defending of religion, they are deceived. Religion is to be defended not by killing, but admonishing. Others read, by being killed, not by cruelty, but in patience, not by wickedness, but by faith. But here he speaks of defending in a hostile way, by killing those that will not be of our religion, be it the pagan religion, and most devilish, not of defending the Christian professors, nor from the infection of wolvish seducers, by the sword of the nurse-father of the church, who is to defend good men, and to execute vengeance on evildoers. For in all this, Lactantius speaks of such a violence as is without teaching. Paradi, sumus, odire, si dociant, tacentibus, certa, naebul, credimus. But suppose some fathers were in that error, as Augustine was, but retracted it, though Augustine affirm we may compel men to the faith, yet he speaks of improper compulsion, and of Donatists, and such as are writ within the church, whom he thinks the magistrate ought to punish, which is not a compelling of the seducer to the sound faith, but an act of justice, in punishing him for his spreading of heresies to the perverting of the faith of others. Upon these grounds, Cyrillus saith, Moses' law is gone, and the kingdom of Christ is holy, heavenly, and spiritual, and therefore hath spiritual sacrifices and spiritual armor, and therefore a spiritual, not a carnal sword to punish the enemies of his kingdom, becomes Christian men. But he speaks of enemies without the church, who, as I constantly hold, are not with wars and the sword to be compelled to embrace the Christian religion, and therefore addeth, on the contrary, Israel did not fight against Amorites, Canaanites, and Jebusites with weapons of iron. But he speaks not of the laws, Deuteronomy 13, verse 17, as well as Leviticus 24, and such in which death was decreed for the false prophet within the visible church. At sometimes the fathers have complied with unsound emperors who have tolerated Nestorians, Arians, and Jews, but this is no law for us. But the other point is that though these that are without are not to be compelled to embrace the true religion, it followeth not that the magistrate should not coerce false prophets or pernicious teachers, such as Baal's priests, who openly seduce the people of God to idolatry. First, because the magistrate cannot nor ought to compel evildoers, murderers, adulterers, rebels, liars, to be internally peaceably chaste, content with their own, as well as they must be such externally, no more than he can compel them to inward fear, love, faith in God, and to external performances thereof. But it doth not follow that therefore the magistrate cannot command external acts of mercy, chastity, self-contentedness, and should not punish murder, adultery, theft, robbery, perjury. For to punish these makes many hypocritically peaceable, chaste, content with their own, true in their word, as well as punishing false teachers and heretics maketh many hypocritically sound in the faith. So Augustine, Contra Petilian, 50.3, chapter 83. Secondly, there is no ground in Scripture to say that because the Canaanites erred against the duties of the first table only, that therefore Israel was to destroy them in war. For in Joshua 11, verses 26 to 28, the contrary is clear. Joshua made war with them because God, having hardened their heart, they came out to battle against Israel. And so the cause of the war was not religion and their madness of idolatry, though on the Lord's part was a provoking cause, but violence in invading a harmless and innocent people. So Joshua and Israel compelled them not to embrace the true religion. Then from thence it cannot follow, therefore no laws were to be made against the false prophets and blasphemer. And if that consequence was null then, it cannot be strong now. So we say under the New Testament, we cannot bring into the faith the heathen and pagans by violence and the sword. It follows not, ergo, no blasphemer within the visible church should be forced. Thirdly, violence and the sword is no means to work men to subjection to Christ. It follows not, ergo, because the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but spiritual, 2 Corinthians 10, verses 5 and 6. And the apostle should not say, shall I come unto you with the rod or in love, or in the spirit of meekness, 1 Corinthians 4, verse 21. And therefore he should not deliver any to Satan. Fourthly, nor is this a good consequence, because the fear of bodily death or punishment by the sword cannot convert. Therefore it cannot terrify men from external blasphemy and tempting of others to false worship. For the external man, his words, solicitations do ill by teaching, and his actions, not the outward man or the conscience and the soul, is the object the magistrate is to work on. For neither under Moses more than now could the sword convert men to the true religion. Yet bodily death was to be inflicted on the seducer then as now. Deuteronomy 13, verse 11.